My name is Raul Polit Casillas. I'm an architect, aerospace engineer, and PhD in advanced systems design. My first professional life was as an architect. I built around the world sustainable buildings and homes. And then I joined NASA about, wow, it's a long time ago, about 12 years ago, a little bit more. I work as a space architect, senior systems engineer. For many years, I created a design facility called Atelier within JPL, which was my lab. And then I led the development of very advanced concepts and engineering problems. About 4 years ago, I thought an idea that after working with so many scientists, because I had the chance to actually not only work with engineers, but scientists as well, to say, hey, there's something coming. Climate is here. But not just climate, is environmentally speaking, things are changing, and our economy too. And homes are at the bottom of all this. We should do something about it. And I found myself with a unique knowledge to actually do both, or connect both worlds, better said. So about 2 years ago, I quit NASA and I put together a team of people, amazing people. For instance, one of them led the first 5 landings on Mars. People that won Oscars, people that are the best in artificial intelligence, in robotic architecture, in construction. And we start designing from a blank piece of paper how a house should be in this century and how a house should work. So we can address mainly 3 major characteristics. They should be extremely adaptable. And I mean physically, not just that your light bulbs turns on or you have a thermometer, right? Second, that they should be regenerative. So this is going beyond sustainability. They should produce everything you need: water, power, waste management, air quality, and some amount of food without any utility grid whatsoever. So pick a place on the planet, you can live there. I don't care if it's Antarctica, if it's a desert, if it's outside Paris or Boston, or it's in the jungle. And they should do it in a way that they clean the environment. They remove CO2. So what we're building not only is neutral, it's carbon negative. And we remove pollution as well. But do it in a way that we're moving from consumers to producers. So your home produces things that are valuable for you and for other people, which means you don't have to pay bills, so you have to pay very minimum bills at the end of the month. And lastly, they should be very intelligent. They should learn from the environment, from interaction with you, with its habitat, with other habitats, and the environment, the ecosystem that they are. So that way we can optimize not only their habitat itself, but the next generation and all the production and design that is happening behind. And that's how I came into this. One thing led to the other. We got some investors, and we've been working for the last 2 years, very stealth. Today's one of the first times that we actually go and tell the world a little bit of what we're doing to change something we need right now. During the presentation, I showed that I came back from my hometown. I live in LA and this is in Valencia in Spain, and maybe you heard there's been some catastrophic floods. I mean, hundreds of people died, and losses are huge. What we're building will help things like that, because those things are happening everywhere. But it's not just the extreme weather events are happening all over the world. It's also that most people our age cannot buy a proper house by themselves. And that's happening everywhere. It's happening in the US, it's happening in Europe, it's happening everywhere, right? We need to address that, because a home is the core of an economy in a country. And we have a way to improve that. And we create jobs along the way. And in a way that is extremely scalable, and also using capabilities that we already have in terms of manufacturing and in terms of integrating technologies. So the reality is there's a lot of systems and technology out there, but they produce often incremental changes, and they're disconnected. When you're designing a spacecraft to go to Mars, you cannot invent everything that goes into it. You actually need to create a synergy and turn the spacecraft into more than the sum of its parts. That's exactly what we're doing here. We are connecting them in a way that are easy, and the heating on one system helps the other, and the water producing this thing helps this other thing. And at the end of the day, you have a level of performance like nothing you've seen before. You will literally need a bunch of NASA scientists to make that happen, and that's why they are in the team. When it comes to other solutions that are out there or materials, that is also true. But the reality is that a system that needs to perform at this level in the current situation cannot do it just passively. It has to be active and it has to be passive. It's a mix of combining the right materials, the right design, high tech, but also very ancient principles, how air flows naturally in a room. If you have your ceilings completely flat, then air is not going to flow naturally, just to say something very simple, right? When you put all that together into designing a new type of architecture, then things start to make sense. You mentioned about adaptability. That is exactly the most different thing about what we're doing is that. And the adaptability has two parts. One is physical, and I'll go into it. And the other one is the way it works and the way these different systems can perform. Now, you mentioned that adaptability, you don't picture in a house. Let me tell you a real quick story that I share in the presentation. When in the Middle Ages, there were a period of time back in Europe where crops were really bad. And because of that, people had to invent mobile buildings. Yeah, we're talking 16th century. They were made of pieces of wood that were numbered, and you will move them from one location to another one using a horse car. When you arrive to a new city and you think that things are going well and the harvesting is going to be great, you put them together like a Lego. You fill the gaps with the soil and the mud that is on the ground, and you're still living into it. And by the way, to this day, they don't pay taxes. And I live in one of them in Strasbourg. So adaptability is possible. Our homes can actually move locations. And this is not a mobile home. This is not a prefab. This is nothing like that. This is something else. It's architecture with capital letters. But yes, they can and they have to. If homes could actually be able to address those physical changes when there's a flood, when there's a hurricane, you can change your profile, aerodynamical profile, you can change your orientation. There are many things that a house could do without going into crazy solutions that will be extremely expensive. And that's kind of what we're implementing. Well, there's no subcontractors with ARQESS because everything is pre-built elsewhere. Now, there are contractors that will work with us to maintain, optimize, make changes. So we're going to create jobs wherever we go. But things come wherever you are already ready to go. That way we don't have the problem. And also give us another type of adaptability, which is you like a different style, you like a change of color. I want, instead of a window, I want a wall. And I need to adapt to the regulatory restrictions that are in any location. If you have a system that is extremely adaptable, you can do all those things. And by doing that, you as an owner start paying less money or wasting less money, because when you renovate something, everything comes later and takes longer and doesn't fit, etc., etc., etc. We are removing that out of the picture. And that way you can actually put your money where you need to, which is in buying good hardware. At the end of the day, we want to build communities, right? And a home is just part of that community, that organic tissue, sort of speaking, that we create become cities. That's our goal, but we're starting with a cell. However, the way we're designing this is exactly to do that. And not only to know who is next to you living or if this is a good place or not, but also to make positive changes. Like maybe I'm producing things that you need and vice versa. Maybe we can share that, right? And then become creating small economy of scale on things you can touch and you need every day, right? That's the goal. Our goal is to make communities, but you cannot do a good body or a good tree if you don't have the right cell, right? We need to first create the cell, and that's what we're doing. Well, Buckminster Fuller used to say that Earth is already a spaceship, and it is. We're all astronauts. We're flying this ball around the universe. Now, as much as I love space exploration, which I do, and I'm a huge supporter, dedicated part of my life to it, the reality is that we have some challenges here we need to address, and they're going so fast that if we don't do something about it, we may not be in the picture. And I'm not just talking about climate change. I'm talking about all the things, including economy. So we decided that if we know how to live in the worst conditions known to humankind, we can apply some of that stuff down here. It's like building a F1, and then it's like, well, let's do a great SUV that has a great mileage, right? So it's the same analog, and we strongly believe that that's the path to go.